and they write apple.
Okay.
And they don't know all those letters, but that little boy said, "Oh, this is fun. This flows. I like this."
Writing apple.
Yes,
Writing apple.
Yes.
Welcome to the Homeschool Journal, a show that unpacks the joys and journeys of the classical homeschool family. Here's your host, Carrie McGraw.
Friends, we're back on the Homeschool Journal today with part 2 of the importance of penmanship. Now, if you missed part 1, don't worry. Stay right here with us. We're going to focus today on how to teach penmanship, the practice and the patience that it well deserves. Episode 1 was all about the reasons for good penmanship and the science behind it. So make sure you go back and get to listen to that one as well. We're going to sit down again today with my friend and yours, Iris Hatfield. Let's get started. All right, Iris, we're back for part 2 on the importance of penmanship. And so our first episode was all about the reasons and the science. But today we're going to talk about how New American Cursive makes it real for our homeschool parents.
Yes.
And not just homeschool parents. I mean, this is employed in, your traditional schools as well. Mm-hmm. But specifically how a homeschool parent is going to be able to teach something they may not have a reference to, that may not have been taught to them. Okay.
Exactly.
So here we go.
Okay.
Now, before we go any further, in case someone is joining us, just for episode 2, didn't catch episode 1, don't worry. You don't have to stop. Stay with us because we're going to cover these in 2 different areas. We've already covered the reasons and the science today. Again, it's all about the practical. But if you didn't get to hear the first episode, I do want to just reintroduce you to my friend Iris Hatfield, who is the author of New American Cursive and the owner of Hugh Vista International Incorporated, a personal consulting firm. And Iris is the sister to Cheryl Lowe, our founder here at Memoria Press. So, if you've heard me talk about Memoria Press as a family company, folks, I tell you, it's all in the family, right?
It definitely is. It's a wonderful family to be in as well.
It is a wonderful family to be in. And so we're so happy when we add more homeschool families to our family.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And speaking of family, Iris has a husband whose name is Wonderful Wayne, as she calls him, and a beautiful daughter, Danette, who also works here at Memoria Press. Again, all in the family. Okay. So Iris, we're going to make it real today, okay, for our homeschoolers. And we're really going to talk about, first I want to get into the development of New American Cursive. I want to talk about, because I know your heart for this, not only your skill, not only your 50 years of experience, I think you've mentioned, but your heart for how this was brought about and what it means to you to bring this program to homeschoolers.
Yes. I'm just so delighted to get to share with homeschoolers. That is, I so respect homeschoolers for what they're doing, for the homeschool families, for them caring enough about their students to seek the best education they can. And it's a sacrifice, but it's such a blessing when they do.
So worthy.
It is so worthy. And so I am just delighted to be here and to share some of these things. And this is how I developed the program to begin with, is just for homeschool parents to help make it easier for them. And so when I was developing this program, I wanted it easy. I didn't want it laborious and just boring things to have to trace. I wanted it fun. And that's why I put Mr. Meerkat.
Mr. Meerkat, who doesn't love a meerkat?
He teaches the child how to form each one of the letters. I wanted it to be easy. And it's been so easy for some children. I had a friend who had bought the book and put it up in the closet for her preschooler. Her preschooler saw Mr. Meerkat, got a chair, pulled it down, started teaching herself cursive, and her mother, she says, I don't know where she's starting to learn this. And then she found the book. So when preschoolers can
pick it up
and start learning, that's what you want. And I wanted them to be excited about handwriting, excited, not just dreading, but enjoying. And I have little kids come up to me and say, I love my cursive book. I love my cursive book. I had one in Kroger the other day that just came up and he hugged, he was a first grader and he hugged my legs and he says, Miss Hatfield, I love my cursive book. But what really got me was his mother. She says, I can't tell you how you've changed my life.
Oh, my
And I thought,
goodness.
what? And she said, I took Teach Yourself Cursive along with him
Oh, how
because my
beautiful.
handwriting was atrocious. I hated writing notes. I hated thank you notes. I would put them off. And now I love to write them. It's made me free to be able to write well. And she says, I really enjoyed studying working with handwriting with my son.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
so that was that.
Very
that's
rewarding.
Extremely
Fills your heart.
It fills your heart and it keeps you going and makes it worthwhile. But I wanted it really easy and simple and fun to learn, multisensory. So all of the senses. So when you're going through workbook 1, they trace the letters and they say the letters and they write the letters. So that is formed early with them. And Mr. Meerkat shows them how to form all of the letters.
Yeah, so let's break that down,
Yes.
Iris. Let's really get into, the kindergarten, the first, the second, the third. Where are we going with the teaching of penmanship and what has to happen or should happen,
Yes.
each year? What is
Yes.
the optimal thing that can be employed in the homeschool to accomplish this? Now that, we spent our time in the first one talking about how important it is.
Right.
If you want a good reader, if you want a beautiful writer, if you want, someone who can spell.
Exactly.
Cursive penmanship is going to do all of this. It's going to support all of this. So let's break it down, year by year, and
Yes.
let's talk
Okay.
about that.
In the first year, they are just learning the shapes of the letter. The first book is about the shapes of the letter. They learn each letter. They learn the easy connections. I wanted it so easy. We only have 3 connections to connect all the alphabet. So it makes it really easy to teach. And then it includes artwork, which helps with their fine motor
That's right.
skills.
Yes.
And by the end of the book, they can write the Pledge of Allegiance in cursive. They can write a little note to their mom or dad for teaching them cursive. And so they have such a sense of pride in what they can do. That's something they can control. And it gives them confidence in being, I can learn this. I can learn other things. So it expands their mind to think, I can do this, instead of looking at their messy writing and not feeling good about what they put on the paper.
Right.
The workbook 2 is all about it. We do a lot of repetition and we repeat and the connections. But the first book is about shape of letters. The second is about size, space, and slant. Okay. And so it teaches all of those things as they are continuing to practice. Also, penmanship protocol or correspondence protocol. So they learn to address a note,
Wonderful.
to write their own address, to be able to write their grandparents, to write their friends. And I really encourage parents to find a pen pal, because that is practicing. This is built where homeschoolers can have different curriculum, but with the Start Right NAC worksheet software, they can just type in your child's
That's right. I
spelling
remember
words.
because I used this.
You used to do that.
Yes.
And so they're writing them in cursive, makes it easier, and they're practicing their handwriting when it only takes 15 minutes a day for the lesson, but they're really practicing.
Employing it all over.
Exactly.
Or have the opportunity to do that with the software.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. And so, and also by the time they get to workbook 2, they need to be writing everything in cursive. That is their practice all day. And to make it neat.
That's right. And it's the development that's setting them up for the future and all future learning. Because as we said in episode 1, you write faster with cursive, and you can process, your work faster with cursive. Absolutely. So when that homeschooler is building all these skills because one of the things that I as a homeschooler looked towards and trained towards was that independence, that level of independence that I needed because there were more coming, right? And they needed more time from me. And so this is one of those things that helps with that level of independence, that speed of work. Right. And so we've got workbook 1 and workbook 2.
And workbook 3 goes into speed.
Right.
It's like you cannot teach a child the alphabet and then just expect them to read. And with writing, you can't just teach them how to write each letter and expect them to have fluid writing. It takes practice, just like it does soccer, anything.
Absolutely.
It takes practice and building those muscle memory for those words. And workbook 3 has words in it that you write all the time, so you learn to write them quickly. And it has all kinds of interesting things to do in the workbook that is practice, but it's not boring. It has fun things to do and dictation and getting them to read different handwriting styles. You want them to be able to read other people's cursive writing,
That's right.
even though they were not taught this cursive style. And I also want to really emphasize to the parents that it is not necessary for your child to write everything exactly like the New American Cursive style.
Okay.
Now, in the first grade, yes.
We're going to stick with the style. We're going to train. That's right.
Yes. But as they move out, their personality is going to come out.
Right.
And if they want to write a capital G like their grandfather does, that's fine.
That's fine.
The critical thing is legibility.
Right.
Stick for that. Fight for that. You have to choose your battles. And legibility is extremely important. Legibility and pencil grip. And I'll get into that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But then as they move on, find other things for them to write. Have them write all of their work in cursive.
Whether in their workbooks, answering comprehension questions, absolutely.
Everything in cursive. And then this is just hot off the press, penmanship practice with wisdom scriptures. And so it's just an extra, when you have older children, 5th grade and up, extra practice. And each one of the scriptures on wisdom has a penmanship tip. And so it helps just reaffirm what they're doing. Yes.
So we have this set up for all the different stages.
Yes.
The point is we do want to start young. And we're going to talk about those who didn't get to start young. We'll hang on to that here for just a second. But I want to say a couple things to you about this program. Now, and to our listeners, when I started homeschooling, you didn't have this program out there, Iris. I had to go and find something else. And I did. And it was a good program. I'm not, I won't mention it, but it was a good program. But when NAC came out, to my delight, and with the software program, the things that we're able to put in ourselves, create our own worksheet pages, this was such a game changer for my younger two that did get to go fully through NAC. And one of the things that I really love about your program, there's so many things, but I'll have to say this one too, is the focus on, because like you said, you end, I think, workbook 1 with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
Thank you, Iris. Thank you for bringing that back to, keeping that in the forefront of our families, patriotism, but also the scriptures and these beautiful things that the children, it's all about, it's not just about handwriting. It's about still furthering the true, the good, and the beautiful in that which they work on and copy again elevating not just the skill of our student, but the spirit of our students as well. So that's my attestation to all of Iris's work when it was employed in my home. Okay.
Thank you. And we have all of the books with scripture and manners. And then we have, for other schools, or parents, we have uplifting quotes, famous American.
Right. If that doesn't fit, we're still going to focus on our history, our wonderful country.
Exactly.
Yes, and lift that spirit still.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the most important features of teaching penmanship, because there's some things that we really need to focus on while we're teaching.
There really are. And just having them to be careful, to watch all of the books, have them, it's developing their eye for what is right and what is correct. Have them circle their best letter or their best quote and when they write it several times. So they are paying attention. And my suggestion to homeschool parents, it's a wonderful, beautiful thing because you have freedom to do all kinds of things that particularly fit your children, is to make it very personal. And you can, when you have several children, you can have, and we have to treat this with respect, teach it with respect. So when you have several children, they can all be working on their penmanship at the same time. And it's a special time, and they need to come to their desk or their table. They need to sit up straight, correct posture, and correct paper position, and correct pencil grip.
And those are the 3 Ps.
Those are the 3 Ps.
That's right.
And you start every lesson with that. So they know. And so you can be working on some thank you notes yourself while you're working with them, and have nice classical music on at the time and make it pleasurable. And instead of turning on TV, sometimes you can just say, let's have a cursive time and then just practice, get them to practice. I got all kinds of beautiful little cursive birthday cards from first graders. I love my cursive.
Yes.
And what that does for people, their family, or get them a pen pal, someone in the family that has nice writing to write back and forth, and get them to see the practical applications. But treat the learning process with respect and coach instead of criticize. So, you did a good job on that capital G, but this one looks a little off. Can you write that more like this one? Or you're doing a good job with your slant. See if you can keep all the letters on the line. Just coach and encourage. Because these kids, they're doing the best they can.
And they want to do the best.
And they want to do.
And that's what's so beautiful about the program is it is something like we said before. They can create. They can be proud of. And children want that.
They do.
They want goals set for them that they can attain, but goals that are going to make them feel good about their work.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that cursive writing does.
It really does. I have a humbling experience for parents that may get a little frustrated with their children not doing better. What you need to do is take your pencil or pen, put it in your non-dominant hand.
Oh, dear.
So if you are right-handed, put it in your left hand and try and write all the capital letters in this, because you most likely were not taught in this program, and try and write them with your non-dominant hand.
And you're going to know.
And you're going to find out they need time and they need practice to build these muscles and to develop those habits of a correct pencil grip.
Oh, Iris, now you just given me some homework, because I know I'm going to do it. It's going to be a disaster, but I'm going to do it. And mine are older and I'm past that, but I think it's a humbling experience that maybe I need, and I will say something that I always employed and with ours very young, and then with, like I said, my second two being able to use the Start Right software, we always, after Christmas, after birthdays, and I'm not kidding you, even now, with my 22-year-old, my oldest, did we send a thank you note? Did we? And it has to be handwritten. We're not emailing anything like that. It is a handwritten thank you note for anything that has been done, given, and otherwise. And that's something that's been part of our family upbringing, is communicating in our best legible written word and beautiful thoughts to share. So we've talked about the 3 P's, okay, and how important they are. Do you want to give a little bit more detail on the 3 of those? I mean, that posture, that paper position.
I was teaching 2 young boys a couple of weeks ago. They're in public schools, and their parents wanted them to learn cursive, and so I offered to do that for them. Bright little boys, and one was in the 4th grade and one was in the 2nd, and none of them had ever had the first.
Yes, but bravo to that parent for realizing how important it is.
Exactly, exactly. And so they were so excited. And so I taught them about the 3 Ps. You sit up straight, and I mostly focused on the pencil grip. The tripod pencil grip is so important. In fact, research is showing that some of the learning disabilities with handwriting flows back to the muscle movement and early and the incorrect pencil grip. It's going to their brain upside down or different or backwards.
Wow.
So it's extremely important. You don't think, pencil grip, but the tripod is the best. And there are videos on New American Cursive, Penmanship.com.
Okay.
The website on Perfect Grip, the right and left.
Wonderful. And
I think also on Memoria Press. On our website, we also have more research. So if they want to look into more
some of the
about
studies
this,
that we kind of went over in the first episode.
Yes, there's a lot of those. And it's under frequently asked questions and research. And
wonderful.
So they can go to that and get extra help. But the penmanship and then the paper position, so many have that they were used to holding their paper straight, printing for all those years. And you tilt the paper. And that shows on the website about how to tilt the paper for the right and left-hander. So those legibility and pencil grip and practice, those are the things that are worth
the time.
Really
They're
stressing
worth the time.
and the time.
And the effort.
Yes.
You know, Iris, I think about this and I've had children in violin, in piano, in all sorts of sports. But the time that we give to, and you've mentioned muscle memory. Muscle memory we employ in, how we pitch a baseball, how we serve a volleyball, how we play piano, how we play violin, So this is the same thing. This is worthy of that time in developing muscle memory, developing this as a skill and spending time on that grip.
Exactly.
It really, and it just like in violin, the grip on the bow, if you don't, really get that right, then it will curb your abilities later.
Exactly.
And this is the same thing with penmanship and handwriting. So
and you can write more, longer.
Right.
You can take your notes. Your hand not
doesn't
tire. And your thumb needs to be right on the pen or the pencil, not over a finger where it restricts your writing.
So what should a parent expect, through this process of teaching grip? Let's really stay on grip for just a minute. Does grip, do you see it become easier at a particular time? Because I know this was one of the hardest things, and parents still ask me about this. We're this far along, and I can't get them to really. And so, what can they expect in that process at different stages? When do you see that become a little bit easier? and just help us. How do we evaluate the stages for that grip? Because I'm going to stay on that for a minute because it really is something that I get a lot of questions on.
Yes, it is worth the effort, and start before they start to school. Start when they're drawing pictures,
with
when they're drawing crayons.
and
Just show them and put your hand over theirs with the correct grip. And just draw ease and let it flow. And there are words in cursive in the first book, and they write apple.
Okay.
And they don't know all those letters, but that little boy in the fourth grade said, "Oh, this is fun. This flows. I like this."
Writing apple. Writing apple.
Yes.
Okay.
But you just have to keep after them.
Okay. So patience,
and
time.
reminding. And when we sit down and we take it serious and we sit down at the table and we have to have the correct pencil grip and we pick it up correctly and we let it flow.
It's a purposeful activity. Boy, we've had a lot of P's going on here.
Yes,
but it's a purposeful activity. So
yes.
Tell me, the last thing I really wanted to cover is, what about the parent that starts late? Because you just had one, that fourth grader,
yes.
that had never had it before. How can we encourage parents that are coming into this a little bit late? They've not maybe known about this enough, made it that much of a priority, or they're coming. I have a lot of homeschoolers transitioning into homeschool in the middle of this pandemic, and they're pulling their kids home and they've not been taught this.
Right.
How do we do that late?
It's worth it. And you know how you teach cursive? One letter at a time.
Okay.
One letter at a time. It is that simple. And all the way up through the fourth grade, or sometimes the fifth, I would put them in workbook 1. So I started this second grader and this fourth grader both in workbook 1. And they enjoyed it. They were competing against each other. And so get them through workbook 1. They'll go through it faster. Let them go through it faster, but give them the foundation first. And then fifth grade and all up, they can use Teach Yourself Cursive.
Okay.
But guide them as they go along. And every time, have a quarter jar. And every time, put quarters in it. And every time that you catch them with a correct grip, they catch you with the incorrect grip, because many parents are having to change their grip. I had to teach Cheryl because she had an incorrect grip, and she didn't trust me.
And this is your sister.
And this is my sister. And so she had to go research it, and she came back and she says, you're right. And it took her. So adults can learn to retrain yourself. So it is worth it. Yes.
Worth the time. Well,
not that they have to make every letter exactly like NAC, but the grip.
Well,
and the paper.
And you
position.
said just a minute ago, one letter at a time, whether you're young or whether you're starting late. Now,
exactly.
And that brings me to the New American Cursive motto, building brains, one writer at a time.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Iris, thank you. Thank you for every moment that you have spent with us. And I really encourage our listeners to go to New American Cursive's website to peruse through the science, the reasons, the material. Thank you for all that you have done to support homeschoolers, to bring back this mission of beautiful penmanship.
Thank you so much for having me. And I will encourage that penmanship is an educational bargain. It is worth it.
It is.
It
does so many things.
It does for the parents. And I wish the parents well.
All right. God bless you, Iris.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you liked our episode, click the thumbs up button or leave a comment below and let us know what you thought. Click the bell icon or subscribe to stay in the loop and get notifications of when we have new episodes. You can also check out our other resources and videos on classical homeschool education. I'm Carrie McGraw. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.